How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Psycho from 1998, directed by Gus Van Sant. This is a remake to the original Alfred Hitchcock version from 1960, and this version stars Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. Much like the original, Marion Crane steals money and heads out to go see her boyfriend, but before she can get there, she stops along the way at the Bates Motel, a place full of murder and mystery, and I won't get too much into that. If you've already seen the classic Hitchcock Psycho, you already know it, and if you hadn't seen that version, start there before you watch this. So this is a remake, but not only a remake, this is a near shot-for-shot remake, and that's one of the things that gets talked about with this. It almost always has the exact same shot as the previous one. You know, it's nearly identical, remaking, quite literally remaking, very little new ideas. There are some changes, in particular, in the opening shot you see the city and it pans all the way into the window where Marion Crane is. Originally it was done with fade dissolves, you know, wider, closer all the way into the window, because Hitchcock didn't have the technical capabilities to do this, and when he remade this movie, Gus Van Sant decided to stick with the original vision rather than what he did. So because technology had advanced, he actually showed the wide pan from the city all the way zooming in to the house there, or the window. And there are some things like that where he took, you know, something that like he wanted to do or the censors wouldn't let him or something, and he tried to stay more towards the vision of the film than the actual film. But don't overanalyze that as you're watching it. Just watch a YouTube comparison later, because if you try to overanalyze just how much of a shot-for-shot remake this is, you might go a little nuts going, was that in the first one? I don't know, is that in the first one? Get out the Blu-ray of the first one, play them side by side on two different TVs. Don't let it distract you, just kind of, you know, try to watch and enjoy it. Marion, of course, eventually gets to the Bates Motel. You meet Vince Vaughn there as Norman Bates, and, you know, as far as the actor replacements, a lot of the smaller parts are pretty good. The actor that plays the cop is spot on, as well as the actor that plays the psychologist at the end. Both very true to the original and really great performances. Also, the younger sister and Sam Loomis, played by Julianne Moore and Viggo Mortensen, they're both pretty good, and a lot of the smaller parts are. But the big two, Janet Leigh and Anthony Perkins, that's harder to replace. Perkins' portrayal of Bates was something that everyone knows and loves, and Vince Vaughn plays it differently. I guess I can appreciate not trying to carbon copy and do the exact same thing, even though that's what the rest of the film is doing. But you see Vaughn, and he's an actor that comes in with a lot of baggage, because he's normally the tough guy, and he's normally very funny. So he's a comedian, and you expect him to be the comedian, you expect him to be the one that's always on top, and he's really not. But that being said, he plays the role a lot better than I thought he would. You know, it's still kind of hard to get around that it is Vince Vaughn, and obviously Perkins is the classic performance. He does better than you'd think, though, and I don't know, maybe it's because I didn't think he would do it that great. He plays it better than you think, but I mean, I still prefer it. I still prefer Perkins. Now, who would I have cast? I mean, I'm a guy with a YouTube channel, of course I'm going to throw my hat in. If I was directing Psycho at this time period, for the two lead roles, I would have went with Janet Leigh's real-life daughter, Jamie Lee Curtis, for Marion Crane. And for Norman Bates, I would have gone with Jeffrey Combs. That's my picks. Go ahead and leave yours in the comments. If you were remaking Psycho, who would you pick? Jamie Lee Curtis and Jeffrey Combs for me. Those are my leads. But anyway, even though a lot of what you get with this film is people saying it's unnecessary and that what they did change wasn't as good, i.e. like the color, that's the biggest change I guess, is this is in color and people actually appreciate Psycho for being gritty and black and white. There was actually color film was a thing you could do pretty easily at this point. Is primarily a budgetary issue why Hitchcock chose black and white, but it made it feel more grainy, you know, and it really, I feel black and white's better for the story, and a lot of people do. It's also set in the year it came out, 1998, so that really actually doesn't change things as much, but every now and then you'll go, oh, that's modern. Yeah, you can't really call this a bad movie because of Hitchcock. By copying so much of Hitchcock, it is essentially the same thing. And you can't really call it bad, but a lot of people call it pointless, and I see that. I say that if you're familiar with Psycho, you've seen it a few times, it's good to watch this movie just to kind of, you know, as a curiosity to see, oh, that's how they did that, or that's how they did that, and oh, I like how in this version they did that, and it could actually, now that I, you know, kind of say it that way, you could use this as a tool for teaching, like, movie students, you know, how to talk about movies in greater detail, because if you show them a remake that's changed vastly different, they'll just point at the big things and go, oh, that's the difference. But here you can get them to talk about the specifics of a movie because they are so similar. But that's about it, you know. This movie, it can be seen as a curiosity, like, you know, like if you're familiar with a play and a troupe is coming to town and you go, I wonder how this troupe will take on the classic version of this play, and, you know, see how a few different actors take it. And it is a curiosity, but by no means enough to replace Hitchcock. I mean, no one can do that. However, I do have to say, speaking of replacing Hitchcock, this is the cover for the remake. This film kind of unintentionally replaces, because a lot of people just see, there's Psycho, I know, I love Psycho, grab that up. And they don't realize, once they've chosen it, that they've chosen the remake, especially because the original Psycho in some movie stores will get put in the classic section, and then this gets put in with all the others, and they go, oh, this must be it, it's the only one here. Look at the cover, the black bars and the hand in the middle. If you want the original Psycho, flip to the back, make sure on this little credit line here that it says Alfred Hitchcock under directed. Make sure you don't get the wrong one. And that's one thing with remakes that does kind of bug me, is people accidentally buy the wrong one or not even know there was an original. Just make sure you watch the original. Overall, it's not a bad thing because it's a copy of Hitchcock's movie, and Hitchcock's movie was good, and this movie is good too because it's the same thing. Now, this is the inferior version, but overall, good as a curiosity to watch when you're familiar with the other one. Did it have a point? I don't know. But I like to hear what you guys think of it, because I heard, actually, I read on IMDb that Quentin Tarantino actually prefers this version better. That was in, like, the IMDb trivia, and I thought, huh, that's weird. But I wonder if I could take my mind off of knowing all the specifics, you know, knowing the original and loving it for so long, and if I just saw the two versions objectively, how close I would rank them. I don't know, and I'm kind of curious what people thought of this, because, you know, it's good, a little pointless, but why not, you know? And that's kind of what I think about this one. It's good because Psycho's good, but it's not as good. Anyway, if you guys made it this far, I'd like to really quickly thank everyone who's liked and subscribed. You really help the channel out, and I'll see you guys again later for more slasher reviews. I'll probably try to get around to reviewing the Psycho sequels sometimes, because the sequels are actually underrated. If you haven't seen them, just watch Psycho 2. It's actually pretty good. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.